Hell, I don't run my building. Mossad does.
The Pentagon has raised the threat of Israeli spying on U.S. to the highest level.
Arlington County Fire Department and EMS is monitoring a hazardous material situation at the Pentagon.
I want to pair this, too, with another story, which is the efforts to effectively link the U.S. and the Israeli militaries and make them so intertwined.
To do with an Israeli national who got caught operating some biolabs, illegal biolabs. And the big update to the story was that some charges were dropped. Israeli government official who was in Vegas for a cybersecurity conference called Black Hat, and he was caught trying to have sex with a 15-year-old in an FBI sting operation, and our government just sent him back to Israel.
We truly have every type of crime, whether it comes to public corruption, whether it comes to human trafficking.
You refer to Jamal Bowman as an anti-Semitic ghetto rat.
Judge ruled acting U.S. Attorney Sigal Chattah is unlawfully serving in office.
The Israelis machine gunned the lifeboats that they put down. They machine gunned the firefighters who were on the deck. The Israelis were intent on leaving no survivor.
And it's unquestionable that the Epstein business was heavily influenced, let me put it that way, by Mossad.
And so that's somehow emblematic on these huge geopolitical issues.
Yes, I watched Mossad take over the Pentagon. In 2002, the Pentagon was infiltrated by Mossad. They did not need any identification to get through the river entrance of the building. They went upstairs to Douglas Feith, the Undersecretary of Defense for Policy, the third most powerful man in the Defense Department. Occasionally, they went to the second most powerful man, Paul Wolfowitz, the Deputy Secretary of Defense, and they had run of the Pentagon. Donald Rumsfeld, the Secretary of Defense, said to my boss one time, hell, I don't run my building. Mossad does.
The Pentagon has raised the threat of Israeli spying on U.S. to the highest level. Let me explain some of what they have, and then I will give you some of what I have. They say the Pentagon is increasingly concerned about Israel ramping up its spying on the U.S., recently raising the counterintelligence threat level from America's top ally in the Middle East to the highest level. The Pentagon's DIA. So this specifically is like the internal intelligence agency for the Pentagon, the Defense Intelligence Agency. In recent weeks has issued a new counterintelligence threat assessment amid rising tensions between Israel and the U.S. over the way forward in the war with Iran. They said the DIA posted an internal message viewed by a current official that raised the level for Israel to, quote, critical. The designation stems from concerns within the Pentagon that Israel is making fun of making a particular effort to surveil top U.S. officials.
Arlington County Fire Department and EMS is monitoring a hazardous material situation at the Pentagon. And we learned this from their social post on X. Arlington Fire and EMS saying that their units, including our Hazmat materials team, currently operating at the Pentagon in support of the PFPA's Hazmat team during a hazardous materials incident. Now, we don't know what that incident is, but it's the Pentagon Force Protection Agency, that PFPA. So basically all hands on deck right now over this situation. You have multiple, as I just told you, different departments and units responding to that. As we learn more, we'll bring it to you. This, again, is the Pentagon.
I want to pair this, too, with another story, which is the efforts to effectively link the U.S. and the Israeli militaries and make them so intertwined that this is something we talked about last week with Brandon Weichert, to make them so intertwined as to make it almost impossible to extricate ourselves from this relationship. This is the country that we're talking about, a country that spies on us as aggressively, if not more aggressively, according to these reports, as our adversaries, as our biggest adversaries in the world. There is no other ally that is conducting this level of operations against us. It is not a thing. It is only Israel. And so it really does call into, look, to me, the relationship of Israel as an ally is already called into question. This further calls into question the idea that this country should be an ally, that we should have this type of relationship with them when they're committing, acts against us that are adversarial all the time. And I said earlier in the show, they would be delighted if U.S. service members got killed right now in the Middle East so that we would get drawn back in. That's our ally. That's who we send billions of dollars a year to without a second thought. That's who we're trying to directly intertwine our military and intelligence services with. This is insanity.
To do with an Israeli national who got caught operating some biolabs, illegal biolabs. And the big update to the story was that some charges were dropped, and it sent me back to the Tom Alexandrovich story, right? The Israeli government official who was in Vegas for a cybersecurity conference called Black Hat, and he was caught trying to have sex with a 15-year-old in an FBI sting operation, and our government just sent him back to Israel. Yeah. Well, let's get to the details of this story. It's not quite as bad as the Alexandrovich story, but I am curious about why federal charges were dropped against a guy who appeared to be operating illegal biological labs.
The judge ruled acting U.S. Attorney Sigal Chattah is unlawfully serving in office, and she's not the only one. Chattah was appointed as the interim U.S. Attorney in March, but in a complicated series of maneuvers, she was later named acting U.S. Attorney. But Chattah, a fiery partisan, drew immediate objections from both Nevada U.S. senators after her appointment. They cited her outspoken social media comments and a leaked conversation in which she said Nevada's African-American Attorney General should be hanging from a crane. Chattah has never been nominated to fill the permanent job. I reached out to the U.S. Attorney's Office for comment today, but did not immediately hear back. Brower tells me the real issue is failing to follow federal law, which requires U.S. attorneys to be confirmed by the Senate.
Nevada, I think, is the most amazing state to be a prosecutor, and we have everything. We truly have every type of crime, whether it comes to public corruption, whether it comes to human trafficking, whether it comes to narco trafficking. We do have gangs here. We do have MS-13 and TDA.
You refer to Jamal Bowman as an anti-Semitic ghetto rat. What would you say to individuals who hear this rhetoric?
So let's get to the details. Federal prosecutors have decided to drop charges, including illegal firearms charges against an Israeli national at the center of multiple illegal biological labs here in the United States. Now, luckily, the authorities discovered these biological labs and prevented something absolutely devastating from happening here in the United States. However, these labs were discovered in Nevada and in California. Now, I want to give you the details of what we know about this story so far. So the Israeli national goes by Ori Solomon, and he was arrested back in January of this year in response to allegations that he had an illegal biolab operated in a residential property that he managed in Las Vegas, Nevada.
So one of the biggest honors of my lifetime to stand here on the floor and do something that's 59 years overdue, to recognize the survivors and those who gave their lives on the USS Liberty 59 years ago today, when they were viciously attacked by IDF jets, and also after that by torpedo boats. The Israelis machine gunned the lifeboats that they put down. They machine gunned the firefighters who were on the deck. The Israelis were intent on leaving no survivor.
The hate of men will pass and dictators die, and the power they took from the people will return to the people. And so long as men die, liberty will never perish.